And we are live. Hi, and thank you for joining me. My name is Alana Mediavilla, and I am the creative director and executive producer at Filmkik. And today I'm going to be joined by Halfdan Hussey, and he's the CEO for Cinequest and Creatix. He has built a career off just finding opportunities and finding ways to continue to create and continue to prosper during crises, from 9/11 to now COVID-19. I mean, picture this: Cinequest Film Festival is about to begin on March 3rd, and on March 1st, suddenly we're starting to hear about Corona everywhere, and suddenly the rules are changing, tables need to be taken out of restaurants, we're deciding whether we need to stay at home or not, and this is one of the biggest film festivals in the United States, and it is happening all at the same time. And today what I'm going to talk to Halfdan about is we're going to talk about what happened there, what he's been doing since, and without any more introduction, I want to bring him in and I want him to talk to you himself. Hi.
How you doing, Alana?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So
What
tell
else
me,
do we
let's
have
let
to talk? I'm just kidding.
I know, right? Well, I want to start with the festival because, as I said, I mean, the festival is starting. I live downtown. I'm seeing the all of the people walking around downtown, all the filmmakers, all of the creatives, and suddenly, Stay in Place comes in. Tell me, walk me through what happened.
Well, all of a sudden, we're expecting a record year, 110, 120,000 people to show up. We have 930 artists and innovators coming in from 55 countries. There's this excitement in the air. The theme is elation. We're ready to premiere movies, have the amazing community that we have annually coming together for live celebration. And all of a sudden, there's this cloud that starts to move over the Silicon Valley. And we're immediately on opening night, some of the political leaders of our city and our state start to tell me, you know what, dude, you're gonna have to make some strong decisions here. And we were at the forefront in California. Stanford and Cinequest were the first two major institutions that made um, difficult and I think wise and strong decisions that weren't based on fear and bumming people out, but positions of strength and doing the right thing. And we decided to postpone the second half of our festival to a time where we can continue it in a more uplifting environment and time, and then to fulfill the first half and produce what we had, many premieres and great artists in town, and do it in a safe way, clean the seats after every person sat in them, make sure everyone was healthy, have sanitizers everywhere, no one got sick at Cinequest, which was awesome. So, it was just one of those things. And then, it starts to make you think, wow, it's tough to produce something like Cinequest or South by Southwest, and now here you have this thing where sometimes you think, well, this is so challenging to produce. It's like making 10 motion pictures at one time every year. But then when you can't do it, it's like it's so sad because live experiences, bringing people together, is so critical to
Yeah.
who we are as human beings and creative forces. So that part was sad, but then we say, okay, we're going to bring that back when we can. But what can we do now? Now that we're shelter in place, what do we have at our disposal? How can we turn this into a positive?
Yeah. Well, I want you to tell me. I want to move on to how we're turning into a positive, but before then, you're in the middle of the festival. You have all of these people in town. Tell me the top two hardest things that happened during that time for you as a leader. Like what were the decisions that you had to make?
Well, you're thinking immediately. Nobody else had, well, yeah, Facebook had canceled a convention they were going to do, but that's different than a major institution that has, 50% of what we do at Cinequest is the Film and Creativity Festival. The other is our Picture the Possibilities youth work, which you've been involved with. And it's a big deal to produce something. It was a 30th anniversary celebration edition, and to face those things. But you have to think, first of all, are people going to be safe? Are we doing the right thing here, continuing either through this week? Are we doing the right thing to postpone? Is that a fearful decision or a strong and wise one? So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. The next week, a week after that, it was becoming pretty obvious what people needed to do. But at that point, it was so new and fresh. So,
Totally.
as a leader, it was exciting for us on one hand to be able to deal with that in a way that was thoughtful and wise and caring and strong and not fearful. And I think our team pulled that off. And what was really rewarding, we were afraid, I said, don't be afraid or fearful, but our one concern was, boy, here's all these artists in town. Are they going to be bummed out? Innovators, um, incredible people. How are they? But they weren't. They were all in such a fantastic mood. Those that felt comfortable in participating, the patrons and the artists, they just had an amazing time and had an incredible attitude. And I started to see, people. I mentioned the live experience is about community, and it's been amazing to me to see how 99% of the folks dealing with shelter in place have such a great attitude about it. I mean, it's not easy for anybody.
Yeah. All right, so fast forward, you've made the decisions, and what have you been doing since then? Like, you tell me about Creatix and tell me about what you're doing now.
Well, we have a sister a company that we have in startup mode that we've been building out with young engineers and product designers from the Silicon Valley. And it's all about expanding and amplifying the work that we do to help people to create, to connect creative work to communities, to people, to audiences and fans that love it, to build community around that, and then also to monetize that opportunity for creative people. So we have this new company in alpha mode. We were planning on doing a beta release in the summer, but we said, hey, we can do some stuff now because this platform is really cooking. It's a social network, it's a platform, it's eventually a marketplace, and a lot of services for creative people and fans of creative work. And so he said, let's get out there, let's do a show. I wasn't really big on doing an online film festival. I know others have made that choice, but I did that in the early 2000s in a pioneering work. We did the first online film festival in the world. And the film festival part of what we do, I really love the fact that it comes together in a live experience. But through Creatix, we said, hey, we can create a show and focus on these artists and do what we do at the with Cinequest Festival, our distribution label, get people to know who they are and why they're amazing people, as well as to take an example of their creative work, experience that, and then learn more about what they're doing and experience even more of that. So the show is called Our Takes on Creatix, and the first pilots have been a hit, so that's been fun. That was something we can do from home. We can have the artists record their interviews, give us their creative work that's already done, have our hosts do their thing, and we've also have a competition up with the actors that are vying to be the regular host for the show on Creatix. It's called Pick the Host, or Fans Cast It. It's really cool. So
That's
that's stuff
awesome.
we can do while we're all in our places.
I think that's great because you have the festival, and rather than saying, okay, how do we fit this model into this new normal, you decided, no, this is good the way it is. Having people come together, having that human element, having that interaction, the parties. I mean, I love the festival. It's phenomenal, and it's very hard to replicate that. So rather than trying to make something into something else, you're just saying, okay, well, then we'll put this on hold until we can do this properly the way we want to. And then, but we will still continue to create. We'll just create in a way that fits within what's going on now. And I mean, I think going digital and creating these digital platforms and, for example, these digital shows, it really helps us engage with a global community in a way that an in-person event can't really do that the same way. So in a way, you're not sacrificing anything. You're just satisfying two needs, two new needs with two different products. And I find that that's awesome.
Thank you. And I feel that the show, by hearing from creative people, they're also reflecting on what they're doing. It's inspiring. It's like, what can I do with my creative work? If I'm a writer, if I'm a cook, if I like to cook, there's many ways we're creative. If I'm a scientist, if I'm a person, I've got a little bit more time to focus that maybe I was driving into the office now. And
Right.
hey, speaking of finding the positives, the environment's looking pretty good. So
It's
my
beautiful
friends in
out
India are
there.
saying they can see the sky now. You can see dolphins in Venice and the sky in India for the first time in decades. That's pretty, this part of it's pretty cool.
I agree.
But anyway, it's helping people know that, well, maybe we're grabbing 45 minutes, another hour we have here, that we were talking about finishing that novel, or coming up with that new idea for a business, or building out something for our community. Now you can get it together, actually do something or plan it and get moving.
That's awesome. So I do want to open it up for our viewers. If anybody has any questions for Halfdan, please just type it up and I will make sure to ask him because I am monitoring the comments. So please let me know. So, all right, you're doing creatives, you're staying busy doing that. Tell me about your novel.
Well, yeah, and the other things I'm doing with this time that have been special for me, I prioritize my family. I'm lucky that I can do that, period, because I have young daughters. But it's been really great, experiencing math class with my 5-year-old every day. Yeah, Zoom class with their teacher, but I'm there and I'm seeing now where she's at with math and what parts of it she loves, and I help her more specifically with her homework. So that kind of thing is awesome. And then I had a novel that I had put aside, I hadn't quite finished, and now I've been able to get that polish on it, and I'm happy with it. So, and it's a comedy. I usually write very intense things. So this one is kind of a nice one for this time because it makes, I hope it makes people laugh.
That's awesome. So, what do you feel you have learned from this experience that has been like an unexpected value that you have been able to add into either your workflow or the way that you do? Is there something new that you've done, some change that you feel is going to stick after stay in place?
I've always, I was a massive promoter of Zoom before they were popular because I'm a big remote work kind of guy anyway because I like the efficiency of it. And hey, even interviewing new employees, how nice not to make them run into the office and drive 30 to 40 minutes and pay for parking to only be whether you don't know whether you're going to invite them back for a second interview. Now you use something like Zoom as we have the last year. There's some of these things that we're learning about. Hey, I don't believe we should all work remote all the time. I think the community, again, of being with people is huge. In-person meetings are very important too, but we can balance it. Perhaps we'll cut our travel, both on cars and in other ways, down by 30, 40, whatever percent. And maybe that will have an impact on our personal lives, free up some more time for ourselves, and also, not hack on the environment quite as badly. So those are the takeaways for me. The other takeaway is I'm really shocked at what a great attitude people have. I'm a person that's very much wired for being okay at shelter in place because, like I said, I can do some writing, I can work remote, I'm set up. But my wife, for example, is a mega social person. I've been shocked that she's done so well working remote. And just people in general are not, yeah, they're complaining a little bit, but it's not this massive, bitch and moan session of, woe is me. It's more of, all right, we're dealing with this together. Some of us
Right.
have it worse than others. Some are trapped in small places and they really can't get out. In New York, that's not fun. Others have more people around them because they happen to be in a stage where they've got family, but that's a lot easier. But overall, attitudes of people, I'm taken away, makes me feel better about human beings.
That's awesome. I like just pointing that out because I agree. I feel like I have seen just a lot of beautiful humanity. It sucks that we can't get together to enjoy this. Like me and my neighbors, we maintain our distance. It would be nice to go out and open up a bottle of wine together, and that's not the case. I mean, they could open their wine and I can open mine and we can just stay separate. Um, so Hofton, tell me about your team. How has your team reacted to this? It sounds like Cinequest was already well positioned to, transition into digital work, but what other unexpected benefits has your team seen from this?
Well, the joke in my team is I've always been an antivirus guy from forever. I've tried to chase people out of the office when they're sick for years. And now it'll be common practice to stay home. So that's the joke of the team. Now, the team, it's as I mentioned, it's like anybody, depending on what situation they're in. If they're 22 years old and they're single and they're in an apartment, it's more challenging for them to deal with shelter in place than it is somebody that maybe has their family in their home and a little more space. So it's not an equal opportunity experience here. But so the team, though, at large is, as I mentioned, we have this new show we're producing. It's allowed me to get to know a couple of the new members of our team better because we're doing something together. If we were going into the office, I might spend 10 minutes a day speaking to them. Now I'm, spending 30 minutes a day interacting with them on a new project via Zoom, and we're doing it remote. So some really good things, and we have a younger team. Most of our team is under 30, a lot of Gen Z. So they're not at risk, but they're dealing with, oh my Lord, it's, I'm 22, I gotta get and do something. But we do have a few people that are more seasoned veterans that are at risk. So luckily they're all healthy and we're keeping them safe.
That's good. That's very good. So, what advice would you give a creative during this time? Like a filmmaker that can't go out and shoot and just pretty much lost all of their gigs for the next few months. What kind of advice would you, because you're a filmmaker as well, so, and a creative, and you've created so many things, what would you tell them?
Well, I can tell you that I lost a round of funding that was supposed to come in on December. And I go, what's going on? It happened to be from a group of people that were dealing with COVID earlier than we have in the States. So there's some things you have to make adjustments in your creative projects, and be it your company or your work, and you're going to have to rebound for that and find a new perhaps schedule for that movie shoot, and then to do what you can do now. Planning, outreach to funders. If you already got something in the can, market it and get it out to more people. Do some more writing and come up with more ideas. Plan your next 3 films versus your next 1 film. I'm talking film artists now. Writers are really in a good place for this. They're used to stay in place. Musicians, others, we just have to find ways to prepare, because I have a feeling this is going to be like, not be like, it's going to be an incredible celebration once we can get out there and get after this thing.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, and so when is there a tool or something you were putting off that you haven't? Did you want to get your editing skills up to speed? Maybe wow, what a great time to do that, to learn your Premiere Pro and to practice if you're an emerging film artist. Or so again, even if you're somebody who's in an art form like film or television that's incredibly reliant upon getting people together to collaborate, there are things that we can do right now that are highly advantageous.
I agree. I agree. So, any other things that you feel are very specific to what is going on right now? Any advice or final words that you would like to cover? Why have I not asked you that I should have asked you?
Well, back to the thing about artists, people are people, and you have a unique past. When we do our our youth Pictures Possibilities work, which you've been a part of, we have the 7 powers of creating process, and the last of the 7 powers is peace. How can an artist, of all people, and many times the artistic people and the innovators, it's very hard to be peaceful because you're constantly working on something new and creating and trying to get that work done and then get people to connect with it. So that tends to many times stimulate a non-peaceful situation. But now in this environment, we can spend a little more time with our inner world And however you want to define that, if it's just being with yourself to tap into the stories and the part of your inner life that's going to become a great story or a great painting or a magnificent poem or music or a new lyrics, or if it's trying something like meditation, something new that's going to help you calm down and get more able to center yourself and be even more creative than you were before. This is the time to tap into some of those opportunities.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And do you think that you're going to do anything differently for the Cinequest Film Festival next year?
Right now, it's a nip and tuck whether we'll be able to do a modified version of the Cinequest Live in late August, and that might require us doing. We have huge venues, so we might have to do some things like some social distancing, have some seats between couples, that type of thing. We'll see if that's available. That's all up to the health officials and the politicians and the evolution of how this thing goes. My favorite voice in all of this is Michael Levitt, a great, physicist, or not physicist, Nobel Prize winning scientist, works out of Stanford in Jerusalem, and he really, I think, has had some very adept wisdom, and I don't think we're going to have a huge situation here in the summer. So, and it looks like Major League Baseball will come back. So if we can do a summer version of Cinequest and it's a safe one to do, people will absolutely love it. And we will take the second half of what we were going to do in March and do it in a special way in August. Otherwise, we'll just, gear up and do the blowout for 2021 better than ever, which is what we do anyway.
That's awesome. Halfdan, well, any last words? We've been talking for around 25 minutes.
It, for me, I left math and that world, which was my kind of strong suit, because I fell in love with creativity and people who create things and write stories and make companies and technologies and films and books and music. So I just that's what other than my inner life and my family, that's what makes me excited about life. So I just have a feeling that we're setting ourselves up for an explosion of great creativity coming out of this thing, because people are doing what we mentioned. They're tapping into their own inner world, coming up with ideas, getting creative, thinking about what they want to do next, and I think they're going to come out strong. You will
I
see this
agree.
too. Every negative quote time, and this isn't negative, and if you're sick, it's negative. But it's a different situation if you're not. And but every time you have a challenge in history, you notice the artists and the scientists always come out like gangbusters when it's done.
Yeah.
They're ready.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something about it. I know that as soon as the stay in place happened, creativity in me just like exploded, and
And
I've been able to do a lot of stuff. And thank goodness my work hasn't been affected too much by this. Just some things had to pivot and change because we still needed to get videos out, and so we just changed the way we captured the video. So more animation and just using the webcam and telling people to sit in front of a window. But I never even read a quote on how from other epidemics in past human history, all algebra was born. Like there's all these different things that happened, and don't quote me on the algebra thing, but somebody told me about this. I think it was calculus or something. But basically, what you said, it's not just artists, it's scientists and mathematicians. There's just something about it that it just sparks. Maybe it's the sudden change of routine. It's something that just makes you have to think differently. And it's been wonderful, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing about companies that were formed during the pandemic. And
right.
I think that we're going to see that, not just a baby boom, but I think we're going to see a creativity boom with its inception and its origin story during this time.
Yeah, if you think about Spanish flu, 1918, 20, along with World War One, then came the Roaring Twenties. People are going to be doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. Well, we are in 2020, so it'll be the
Yeah,
new Roaring Twenties, hopefully. It's definitely a
absolutely.
memorable year.
Absolutely.
Halfdan, I really admire your work. I really love what you're doing. So I am very, very honored that you were on my show, and hopefully the people that watch were able to get some value out of what you. And I know I did. So at least you have one very satisfied person after this conversation, at least. So
Everyone.
thank you so much for your time. And I'm just going to take it back to me for a second. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for having been a part of this episode. I know that I was a little nervous at the beginning because I admire Halfdan very much, and Halfdan has interviewed many, many people, many actors and directors, and just some pretty great, amazing people. So I felt a little nervous coming into this, but I am just so honored that I was still able to get him on the show, and that he was able to talk to you about what they have been doing and what they plan on doing in the coming year. And tomorrow, in tomorrow's episode, I am going to be interviewing Lisa Cohen, and she is the senior executive comms person for a very big company in Silicon Valley that I think we're not going to say which one, but it is very amazing. And more than the reason why she works for that company is because she is one of the most brilliant people that I've ever met, and she is just super amazing. So I really hope that you guys can join us for that. It's going to be at around the same time. I don't really remember what time it is, but I'll let you know. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And we're also going live on Twitch. So you can find out when the next live episodes are going to happen. And one last thing, we have 2 new shows that are in the works. So stay tuned for that. And with that, thank you so much. Have a great day.